Now, obviously, it's going to sound a wee bit far-fetched to say a 1998 Honda Accord is worth $1 million. But I'm here to tell you, the 1998 EXL V6 Accord, to me, is not only worth $1 million, it has been worth more than $1 million to me, and I'll tell you exactly why. If you can imagine, back in 1997, this came out in the late summer of 1997, the 1997 Accord was in its 5th model year. It was a successful seller. I was a successful salesperson at Honda of Seattle in our former location in Capitol Hill, selling, what, 20 cars a month or thereabouts. The difference was in 97, the margins were quite small because the car had been around for a long time. Salesmen might expect to make $100 or something like that every time they sold a new Honda Accord. Pre-owned car, you might make a couple $100, something like that. So if you have top-notch customer satisfaction scores and you hit every single bonus you can hit, selling 20 cars a month is going to pay about $4,500 or thereabouts. Sadly, my customer satisfaction scores were not at the top or even anywhere near the top, and so a person like me might be making $3,800 a month, something like that. Good money, though, by 1997 standards, just not at the very top, maybe like top 5 in the dealership or something like that. One day, I see a truckload of new cars come in, and this is one of those cars, a Heather Mist EXL V6 Accord. First thing I notice about the car while it's on the truck is that it has dual exhausts. And that just blows me away. I can't even believe Honda makes any kind of car with dual exhaust. But a Honda Accord with dual exhaust, like an old 60s muscle car, that just seems so far out, like I couldn't even believe how cool that was. Then, as I'm reading the window sticker on the car, it's not tons more expensive than the outgoing model. It was $24,525. But the features that it had, the great Bose stereo, 200 horsepower V6, really nice leather, a built-in alarm right into the door with the flashing red light. I mean, everything about this car, chunky wheels, moonroof, wood-tone interior, it was great. I mean, it was really, really, really nice, and I was very excited about selling it. The one problem is the first 3 that we had were sold that day because salespeople had cataloged guests that were interested in it and just followed up with those customers and said, hey, the car's here. And so before I had a chance even to go on a test drive in one, they were all gone. And what everybody wanted was this. All Accords were popular, but they were relatively abundant. What was crazy popular was the EXL V6 Accord. That's what everybody wanted. Not an EX V6, not an LX, not anything like that. They wanted this package at this price. And so what we did is we had a basic model one without the EXL package and added leather to it, and it was about $800 less. You just lost a lot of the nice features like alloy wheels and moonroof and so on and so forth. That car stood around for a while because everybody wanted the EXL with all of the goodies. So one day, I have a customer that's walking into the dealership. They're going back to the service department. If there's one thing I did really well back in 1997 that I do to this day, every single customer who walks through the door, I'm hand walking them back to the service department and introducing them to somebody in the service lane. And so customer comes in, they're getting their older Accord serviced that day, and I tell them, hey, we've got the new body style. If they have a free minute while they're getting their oil change, I'd be happy to at least take them for a spin around the block. I wouldn't mind test driving it myself. So they take me up on the offer, and although they didn't buy the car, they were super appreciative that I just took the time to be of service to them. And the crazy thing that I learned from that is that I really got a kick out of just being of service. With no agenda, no nothing, just to be helpful and courteous really worked for me emotionally. So I made a point of every single customer that was coming through the service area, I would ask them if they'd want to go on a test drive in the car while they were waiting. Some of them took me up on it, some were appreciative but said no thanks. Then I started talking to all the service writers and saying, listen, if you get anybody who wants to drive these cars, I'll take every single customer out and I expect nothing and I'll treat them totally cool. And then I took it to another level where I actually started waiting in the service area and just offering test drives, and I would bring the car into the service lane area itself and just offer everybody test drives on any downtime that I had. It became kind of a problem where the service manager then reached out to my sales manager and he's like, hey, your salesperson's like upping my service customers before they have a chance even to speak to a service advisor. Well, I went on 100 test drives in the base model V6 that we had, and by the time some more EXL V6s came in, I'll be honest, out of the first group of 10, I didn't sell any, but out of the next 30, I sold 20. And I realized something very, very powerful. I have to do something different than what everybody else is doing, and I have to do it better than I've ever done it before. And so by reaching out of my comfort zone and actually going and offering test drives to people in service, I learned a trick that served me extremely well. car like this, the commission wasn't $100, the commission was $600. And I wasn't making $3,800 anymore, I was making double that. And my CSI, my customers were tickled that I went to so much trouble to make sure that they were happy. My CSI went through the roof, and my pay went up through the roof accordingly. This car completely changed my life. It completely changed the way that I sell. It completely changed how I feel about customers who walk through the door, and it got me re-energized with what I could accomplish in this business. Now, taking a look at this exact car, it's a Heather Miss EXL V6 for 1998. And that engine, that 3-liter V6 engine, putting out 200 horsepower. And hood struts to boot. Everything was on a prop back in the day. And so to have hood struts was really, really cool. And so this V6 engine at 195 pound-feet of torque was a car that was capable of going 0 to 60 in under 7 seconds. For a front-wheel drive economy car, again, these are unheard of numbers. One thing about looking at older cars, this car is far from a collector's model, but I bet someday it actually will be, like a lot of old cars, just because this is such an important car to the car business at large. One thing you want to look at are VIN stickers. All older Japanese cars have VIN stickers. If you look at the panel on the car, it has the 17-digit, and it's always 17 digits starting in 1981. All 17-digit vehicle identification numbers are stamped onto every single panel on the car. If a panel has them on everywhere except for maybe the hood or except maybe the fender, then you know that component has been replaced. One thing these cars did rely on is that they needed a timing belt replacement, and so this car that we took in with 120-odd thousand miles, maybe it's had its timing belt replaced once in its life, it's going to get its timing belt replaced again. Now these great alloy wheels, in this case shod with Michelin tires, they actually look really cool. To this day, it looks nice, it looks impressive. Now the wheelbase on this car is something else. That was a big advance from what other cars were doing. The wheelbase is 106.9 inches, which is really long for a subcompact car, and puts it up in that kind of mid-size car territory. This car weighs 3,241 pounds, and so with a V6 engine at 200 horsepower, it feels not only fast, but safe and secure. The doors open and close with a certain thud that feels nice. The seats move forward and back. Power seats all feel quite nice. The stereo system, which was made with the help of Bose stereo, it's great. I mean, it's a nice stereo system. It's a nice alarm system. It's a nice everything system, to be honest with you. Let's jump in back and take a look. Again, on a subcompact type of car, you can imagine that it's going to be pretty small in the back. No, not at all. In fact, it's extremely roomy in the back. At 6 feet tall, I still need to stretch my knees out a few inches just to reach the front seat. The seats are very well padded. Granted, it's a 1998 vehicle, so you feel like maybe the seats are in pretty rough shape. No, they're not in rough shape at all. And then the trunk. Let's run up front and pop the lid. The trunk is impressive as well for its day. 14.1 cubic feet. One of the other things they have here, the old Accord service books. I bet if you were trying to track these books down on eBay, they're probably worth about $100. The nice original trunk liner, and again, that original VIN sticker telling us that this car's never been in an accident in the front, never been in an accident in the back. For somebody who's a sucker for nostalgia, this is actually a really cool car. Taking a look at the passenger side, again, you see the full length of that 106.9-inch wheelbase. It's a very striking car, and it was completely different than what was going on with the 97. All Accords up to that point throughout the 90s were very kind of aerodynamic looking, where this is big and boxy. Total departure from their prior style ideas. In fact, when it first came out, it wasn't considered particularly good looking. It actually aged better than you might have thought of when the car first came out. Let's turn it on and see how it sounds. Still sounds terrific. It's quiet inside, even with the doors wide open. we turn on the radio, it still sounds great after all these years. Everything works great. I mean, this car feels like a 2-year-old car, not a 17 or 18-year-old car. And again, 123,000 miles, very low miles for the year, but even still at 123,000 miles, it's easy to see that this is one of the best built cars of the generation, above and beyond having the amazing specs that really blew everything else out of the water in 1998. If you have any questions about this particular car, I have a feeling it's going to sell for around $59.99 or something along those lines. It was just traded in, hasn't even been washed or anything like that. But if you have any questions about this particular car, or anything we sell here at Honda of Seattle or Toyota of Seattle, please don't hesitate to reach out. My name's Joe Tunney. I'm the pre-owned director at Honda of Seattle and Toyota of Seattle. You can reach me anytime at joet@hondaofseattle.com.